In today's video, we're going to be diving into the month of July, kind of taking a look at late June as well, into the whole month of July, and trying to get an idea of how the month is going to go using long-range model guidance. We're going to be using two different model families, the CFS and European models, both for the weeklies and the monthly versions of these models. So let's just dive into things. We're looking at the temperatures and precipitation, of course. And this one is going to be the weekly European model first off. I'm pre-making this video, so that's why we're back a little bit. As we take a look at the 20th through 27th of June, I think that's a good time frame to look at. Interestingly enough, this looks quite a bit different from what we've been dealing with for early June, where we have some cooler temperature anomalies popping up for areas of southwest Canada, as well as the northwest of the United States. And on the other hand, on the other side of the nation, for a lot of the south central and southwestern states, all the way up into most of the eastern states, we actually have quite a bit of warmer temperature anomalies popping up from this European extended model. Looking towards the very end of June, we do warm up in the west a little bit. We get more neutral in the east. Let's take a look at the first week of July, though, because that's probably why most of you guys are watching this video. And we get this large warm bubble over the west. This isn't a purely positive PNA, which you guys have heard me talk about so much. The west coast is actually more neutral. It's very east-based and even more central-based. We see a lot of the plains warmer. We see a lot of the Rockies warmer here. And really, in the eastern states, we're a lot more neutral, maybe even cooler than normal here for this first week of June. Looking towards the 7th through July, I meant to say, looking at the 7th through 14th of July, we see very similar things. Neutral here in the east, but much warmer temperatures popping up in the west. This is an ensemble model, and this is the mean average. So I've been using those a lot recently, the European ensemble models, to show you guys the temperatures. So you guys know this already, but we're getting many different models and we're taking the mean average of them, and they're popping up with very strong signals for warmth in the west still. A little bit indecisive in the east is what I'd call it, because it's very rare to see, especially on a 1 week basis, completely normal temperatures in the east. Typically it's either going to be warmer or cooler to some degree, and I think that we're probably getting some disagreement here on the models for the east, and that's why we're getting this neutral look. So it's probably not going to look exactly like this. We're probably just getting some disagreement. 14th through 21st, nothing really changes, and this model only goes out to the 26th. So here's the 19th through the 26th, and really they have the whole month going that way. Now, precipitation-wise, again, we'll move this forward towards kind of like the late June time frame, and what we're seeing is a little hint of dryness over the Rockies into the southern plains, which is interesting because these areas have actually been quite wet recently. And we also see some wetter conditions expected for the northern plains, upper Midwest, Great Lakes, a lot of southern Canada there as well. And that's where we're popping up with a lot of the above average precipitation. When we look at the first week of July, really not too much else to disagree or agree with. We're really staying the same here through most of this pattern. Once we reach the midway point of July, though, we start to see the southeast area be more active, which is how things have gone, with a drier pocket over the plains. And again, the white areas are a little bit more indecisive, could really swing either way. The Climate Prediction Center would probably call this equal chances, so it's a good way to look at it, where there's kind of, we can't tell you either way. It's going to kind of swing either way. When we move further forward, we actually see late July looking a lot of the same. The east is a lot wetter. The plains are drier. The west, again, indecisive. Now, this is the part where we're going to dive into the more monthly models. So here is the temperature anomalies on the European seasonal model for the whole month of July. We see a lot of warmth, especially in the west, but some of the northeast as well. And I think the best way to kind of call this would be warmer to the north with chances of cooler in the south. And this is all relative to your exact location. So the north isn't literally warmer than the south. It's just warmer than their own average. And the south is a lot closer to that average, maybe even a little bit below it. I know we're not seeing blues here, but again, they're indecisive. And typically we're not going to see the whole lower 48 be above normal. So it's easy to assume that the best chance for below normal temperatures would be the further south you go. Looking at the precipitation, it does agree with that weekly model a lot. We see the best chance for above average precipitation along the east and the best chance for below average here right in the center of the nation, there with some drier conditions. With that being said, let's dive into a different model. Let's look at the CFS daily model. This is also an ensemble model, but this one tends to be a little bit more opinionated, which is why I like using it. The European tends to be more accurate though, so there's benefits to both. We're also going to pay attention to this. I always say this, but just because the European model is technically better and the CFS model is technically worse, does not mean that the European model is right and the CFS model is wrong. It just means that 60% of the time the European model is right and 40% of the time the CFS model is correct. We don't know if we're in the 60 or the 40. It's not an exact coin flip, but we do not know. That is very important to note. Now, this is again going to be like the late June timeframe, and we do see a cooling trend there along the west, which again has been kind of not what we've been seeing. We see a horseshoe of warmth here in the west as well, so a little bit of a temperature battle going on out there. And then in the east, we're still popping up with mostly cooler than normal conditions to end off June. Now, as we take a look at July 1st through 8th, so this will be the first week, we see again some cooler anomalies there in the east or the west coast, and a little closer to normal in the east, but still below normal, with the warmest conditions actually in the center of the nation, which we do see that type of pattern pop up from time to time. 7th through 14th, pretty messy, kind of hard to break down even what this model's calling for. I'm going to see if we can get to a point where it's a little bit easier to break down. 14th through 21st is a little clearer. There is some cooler anomalies popping up in the west, but I would say this area is the warmer half, and this eastern area, almost no yellows. This is purely cold. So this, to me, looks very similar to what we've seen throughout June. So this model is currently suggesting that we are going to kind of stick in this pattern through the month of July, which would be so depressing. I'm just ready for a normal summer pattern. This would not be that at all. Let's take a look at the 21st, or actually the furthest we can get is the 19th through the 26th, and we actually get a further warming trend in the west and a further cooling trend here in the east. So it doesn't really improve from that point. We're actually seeing just a lot of the same, if not a more intense version of that. Looking towards the precipitation anomalies, this one is a little crazy. Keep that in mind. But for late June we'll look at the final 5-day period of June here. We see much drier for the southwest, which is pretty relative because they don't typically see much in the way of precipitation either way. We see wetter actually trending in for the northwest, north central, and then really all of the east here. Looking at the first 5 days of July, a lot of the same, reaching towards the midway point. Very close agreement with the European model, actually, with the southeast area being active, a little drier throughout the plains. This one does have the Rockies a little wetter, and then for the west coast, much drier, which I would say is pretty accurate because that's a lot of what we've seen throughout June. The west has been, they don't expect a lot of precipitation, as I mentioned, but they have had pretty much none. The Rockies have been quite active. The plains have been active, so we're switching that up with the dry conditions, but the southeast has been active like this as well. So this isn't even too far-fetched from what we've been seeing. And as we reach towards the very, very end of this model run, towards the kind of final portion of July, we see again wetter in this area overall. A little wetter for some of the west, again the Rockies, but this is expanding over a larger area. And the plains looking very close to normal, but probably more dry than wet here is what I'm seeing. Looking at the CFS monthly model for July, the picture here is pretty clear. This looks exactly how June has gone, just much warmer in the west, much cooler in the east. Really not too much of a switch up. This is, again, depressing, and we're not going to dive into it, but August looks pretty similar on a lot of these models as well. For us cold and snow lovers, all we can really hope for is that this does trickle in to the months of the fall and into the winter, because if we can stick in a pattern like this, that certainly would lead towards another cooler fall and winter. Precipitation for the month of July, we do see again drier along the west, drier along the south central, wetter here for a lot of the east and north central states though. And really we can kind of call it this whole east coast area. If I was to draw it very, very accurately, something like this. So we get kind of like a goldfish shape, make a little mouth there, little eye. Yeah, so we see above average precipitation, especially in the north central states, which I believe is what the European model was calling for as well. The east is very close to normal, but still a little bit above normal. Really, really interesting. Again, not too far off from what we've experienced in June. And once we get June done and we're looking towards July here, that's 2/3 of the entire summer. So we're starting to paint the picture of really what we could expect for really when the summer's all said and done, what we'll look back and see. So interesting to see that all coming together. I really didn't see this coming, especially since every season so far this year has been very appropriate. The winter was cooler, snowier for some folks, especially the further south we went, actually, which is surprising. The spring was actually a quick rebound into some warmer than normal conditions. So we saw a warmer spring. I expected us to just see a warmer summer and then a cooler fall and cooler winter again, but summer's kind of throwing a wrench in that, being cooler than normal, evidently. So super, super interesting. A little bit depressing if you're looking for really hot temperatures, but a lot of you are actually cheering for the cold in my comments. So I'm sure a lot of you are happy actually about this. So yeah. With all that being said, be sure to subscribe. We upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.